Good morning and welcome back to our channel. Today I'm going to show you how to pressure can chicken using the hot pack method. This is going to be a tutorial for beginners on how to use a pressure canner. So if you are a beginner, this video will be for you. And it's a very simple process. So I'm going to take you from the beginning of taking the chicken out of the oven, peeling and skinning it, cutting it up, and then we'll put it into our jars. So let's get started. The very first thing you want to do is wash your jars with hot soapy water. Also wash your lids and your rings, and then rinse them thoroughly. Our chicken just came out of the oven, so we are going to take the lid off. Ooh, and make a mess, like always. Okay, this is probably going to be very hot to handle. I'm going to pull all of these pieces out, put them on a plate, let them cool down just a little bit so I can handle them, and then I will show you how to pack them into your jars. I purchased chicken quarters on sale. What you're going to do after it's done cooking, you're going to want to peel all of the skin off of it, and it is really hot. So just peel that skin off and take your chunks of meat, and then I just put them right into the jar. Everything is hot, hot on hot. And then you're going to continue this process until your jars reach 1 inch of headspace. And 1 inch of headspace is this bottom line here. You can always check it with this tool, but it comes to this line here. So we're going to continue doing that for this whole process. In the meantime, get yourself some water boiling on the stove. And I like to add a couple chicken bouillon cubes to mine to give it more of a chicken flavor. And then you can add salt to this if you want to or not. It depends on your preference. We do not add salt because we're trying to lower our sodium content. So you're not going to see me add salt to any of my jars. If you are trying to watch your sodium content, there is a bouillon that is a sodium free, which is what we're going to be using today. I have my pressure canner on the stove, and I have just put in 2 quarts of water, which is what my pressure canner calls for. So do what your directions say for your canner. You do not want your canner to go dry, so make sure you add as much water as it tells you to. On this burner, I have my hot broth that I'm going to be filling our jars with. I need to bring this to a boil, and then we will fill our jars. I ended up with 4 pints of chicken. I know it doesn't seem like a lot with all that chicken I had, but most of it was bone and there was a lot of gristle in it. So I picked out what I could, and we ended up with 4 pints. Our broth is boiling, so you're going to need your funnel. Put your funnel in your jar, and then ladle your broth into your quart or your pint jar, I'm sorry. And you're looking for a 1 inch headspace. And remember, that is to that line there, and that's all the more you want. Once we fill all of these jars, we will get all of the air bubbles out. And then sometimes you do have to add more liquid whenever you get the bubbles out. So that might be something we need to do. I like to wipe my jar rims whenever I'm doing meat with vinegar because the meat can be really oily, and I want to make sure that I have all of that meat. You can see pieces of meat on the rim. Make sure all of that is off before I put my lid on. That's why my vinegar's out. I'll show you using how to debubble using this. So just take the end of it and go right around. Now I don't pack my jars tight because I want that broth to be able to get in to all the pieces of meat. Okay, and that one's going to need just a little bit more broth in that. And then we're going to do the same one for each jar. Now these jars are going to be extremely hot, so you might want your jar grabbers to put these into your pressure canner. Make sure your canner has the appropriate amount of liquid in it, and make sure it is turned on at this time so that your water can start getting hot too, because you want your water in your pressure canner to be hot. If it's cold water and these jars are hot, you have the potential to crack your jars, and you don't want that. It's too much work. Okay. So we're going to put just a little bit more in this one, and that one. And that one. And then this is our step ladder up here. This is our 1-inch tab right here. So you're going to put this piece on the rim to make sure that you are at 1 inch. And I could still use just a little bit more in this one. There we go. That one's okay. And that one's okay. Alright. I use white vinegar and just paper towels. And then you're going to take this and then just wipe the rim of each jar to get all of that chicken debris and grease off of where your lid is going to sit. These jars are really, really hot, guys. And sometimes you'll see that you do have like chicken pieces stuck. You've got to get all that off, because if you don't, your lids aren't going to seal. And then you have just wasted a jar that you were intending to put on your shelf. Add your lids. And then your rings, you want them to be fingertip tight. So turn it and then that's it. That's it. You don't want to really crank them down because that's not fingertip tight. Okay. Now we'll get my jar grabbers and we are going to put these in the canner. Okay. Pick each jar up and just sit it in your canner. Be sure to have your ring on the bottom of your canner too. You never want your jars to be directly on the bottom of your canning pot. I do not have anywhere near a full canner full of chicken, so I wish I did, but unfortunately I don't. So what we're going to do now is put our lid on. Always inspect your ring on the inside to make sure that it is okay and it's not dry rotted. The rubber piece, I'm sorry, I can't film and do this at the same time. This is a challenge. So the rubber piece, make sure that it is all intact. And then you're going to line up your arrow with the arrow on your pot. Okay, you're going to line that up, and then you're going to close it shut. All right, I'm going to leave this on high for right now until it gets started. You're going to see steam come out of this vent pipe right here. Steam has to come out of that for 10 minutes before we add our weights, okay? I have the rocker type of weights, and for my altitude, I will be canning this at 15 pounds of pressure for 75 minutes. So once this starts showing steam come out, set your timer for 10 minutes, and then we will put the weighted rocker on. I just set my timer for 10 minutes and you can see the steam coming out. At least I hope you can. There we go, if I put it up against the black. I set my timer just a minute ago and you can see the steam starting to come out. And that's what you want. That is what it looks like when your steam starts coming out of your pressure canner. So, like I said, that goes for 10 minutes. You'll notice back here, this piece has come up. That's what you want. You don't want any leaking around that piece. That should have a complete seal and there should be no water coming out of that. We only have less than a minute now, so our steam is still coming up. And our weights are going to be 15 pounds, so 5, 10, and 15. If you have this type, this black piece just screws on and off, and you can take the rings off accordingly. Okay, our timer just went off. All we're going to do is put our rocker on top. We do not start our timer until we have a gentle rocking on this. Okay, it has to build up pressure in here to reach that amount before we start our time. If we start our time now, we could have the potential of getting botulism in our meat, and we don't want that. So once it starts rocking, we'll set our timer for 75 minutes. Our pressure canner just started. We set our timer for 75 minutes, and I do need to turn that down just a bit because it's going just a little too fast for my liking. There we go. I always look at it as if it's dancing like a little hula girl, that's how you want it to go. Okay, now do you see what happened? See how it stopped? This is a very good example. I have to start my 75 minutes over because I lost my pressure. So I turned it down a little too far. Okay, right there. We'll take ours up just another minute. So you just want a real nice, gentle rock, okay? You're going to let it rock like that for 75 minutes. Our 75 minutes is up. Turn your stove off. And you are going to do absolutely nothing but just let this pot sit here. There's no heat source to it now. This will stop rocking. Don't touch this, okay? Leave this completely as it is. What we're going to do is we're going to wait until this drops and is completely flat with the pot, okay? So usually I set my timer for 20 minutes and then I'll check it after that. Okay, we're ready for the next step. This has dropped completely flat with the pot, okay? We can take this off now. And we can open up our lid. I always use old rags just in case it's hot. And remember to open it away from your face. That way you don't get any steam burns. Use your jar grabbers and it is straight up. and over to where you're going to let them cool off. So as you can see, we have 4 pints of chicken and then 1 quart and a half a pint of chicken stock that I just left the bones boil down a little bit while the chicken was pressure canning. And I'm just gonna let that cool, skim off the fat, and then I'll freeze that for later. So guys, it's really that easy to make your chicken shelf stable. So if you like this, please click that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.